So I kind of talked about the performance last week, and the results look good, but I'm sure as a coach, you want more, especially heading into the championships this week.
This was the first time that we've had this dual race scenario. This is a style that Division I is using quite extensively this year since they've gone to automatic qualifiers. And to be able to race twice with separate results, I think it was a challenge that we were hoping that we would rise up for. So, of course, last weekend it was very windy, it was wet, it was cold, and we had really just strategized about keeping the kids active and being able to perform from first race without the fatigue factor of setting into second race, not necessarily due to racing, but to the elements. And I think that in the varsity 8, I think we had a pretty epic fail there. And the ladies, I think they felt good that we had stayed out in front of Western and UCSD, but I think our general concern in allowing Seattle University to beat us was, basically losing a race to Barry University or Mercyhurst. And so I think for us it was to sit down and just to kind of talk about ways to stay on our game as we head into the WERA championships for heats and finals. We saw some really improved performances. The women's varsity 4, I think we made one lineup change. That's been about the only change that we've made since the first regatta in Sacramento. And we just find that the lady that's stroking the boat is actually able to make it move a lot faster just at the front end of the stroke, where we felt like we were losing a lot of time. We definitely raced in some pretty treacherous conditions last weekend, and I think as we head into Sacramento, where really I think our biggest concern would be the heat more than anything, since I think our average temperature in the morning is about 40 degrees. When you go to Sacramento and it's 80 degrees, you don't fare very well. So we definitely, over the last week and a half, just tried to fine tune the places where we felt like we fell short and covered bridge, or places where we can really improve upon as we head into championships. This is our last big regatta for the team, and when you're racing Division 1, 2, and 3, it's hard to help your first year rowers put it into perspective, to give them a job well done or a kudos when you're racing against universities like Stanford Lights. You have the Sac State that's just really vying for that automatic qualifier in Division 1. I mean, there's some great rowing programs that are going to be there. There's about 37 universities that will be there this weekend. There's the preliminary heats in the morning on Saturday into midday, and then the finals all start on Saturday afternoon. So there's the grand finals that happen exclusively on Sunday, and then the petite and third finals, which are happening on Saturday afternoon. And that's a lot like the covered bridge format, where you raced and then 4 hours later you raced again.
Seems like you're just in Sacramento, and kind of from then to now, how much improvement have you seen from your squad?
It's hard to say, and I think obviously the biggest challenge in understanding what your relative speed is being on a body of water that would be ideal, and we haven't seen a lot of ideal conditions this season. And if we look at how we performed in Sacramento and in the first regatta, we've had an opportunity to race with UCSD again. We raced Western at Cascade Sprints, and then we got to race with them again this past weekend. And while I think we've raced well, I think UCSD has made a lot of lineup changes. They've got a very deep team. Colin Truex is an exceptional coach, and what we're seeing is they're getting faster. They're closing the gap between us. And, of course, we'll face off with UCSD this weekend, and again on May 8th and 9th when we go to Dadville Regatta. This is the last weekend that we'll see Western Washington, and I think as Maggie alluded to, you can never underestimate Western. 7-time national champions, and while John talks about having an inexperienced crew, they're all ladies with great rowing experience coming in from the high school level, and so I think we all live in fear of Western. It helps keeps us honest from day-to-day training. So There's obviously a lot that rides on this. There's some schools that we haven't seen at all this season that we'll face off with, and UCSB is probably one of those big programs that has shown depth in every event they've raced in this season, and they're going, I think if we look at the results of the varsity 8 and 4, what we saw coming into the final 500s was 6 boats across, crews that were within one second of each other coming into that final 500. And Covered Bridge is a unique course where you get to actually see the race from start to finish, and I think the things that we saw, at least in the varsity 8 event, were very alarming. We were the last off the line. We trailed for 1,500 meters in that race, and so while the ladies talk about how good their sprint is, I think we need to be a little bit better on the front end if we really want to challenge those other Division II crews, but to be able to stay with UCSB on Saturday.